Let's talk about Russia, the country famous for Tetris, vodka, and leaders who love shirtless photo ops. But there's so much more to this vast nation than just its quirky pop culture exports and iconic images. Russia is a land of extremes. From the icy winds of Siberia to the golden domes of Moscow, it's a place that has fascinated, intimidated, and mystified the world for centuries. For decades, Russia has projected the image of a mighty superpower, hosting grand military parades and flexing its muscles on the world stage. The world has watched as tanks roll through Red Square and fighter jets roar overhead, all designed to remind us of Russia's formidable legacy and its ambitions to remain a global heavyweight. But behind the bravado, the reality is far less impressive. The glossy exterior hides a country grappling with deep-rooted problems, crumbling infrastructure, neglected cities, and a sense of stagnation that's hard to ignore. Peek past the propaganda, and you'll find a nation struggling with a disastrous war, a faltering economy, a shrinking population, and a geography that's more curse than blessing. The challenges are everywhere, from the front lines of conflict to the emptying villages and the vast, frozen wilderness that makes development a logistical nightmare. Tonight, we are taking a backstage tour of Russia's reality show, where the props are falling apart and the actors are losing their lines. The grand performance is starting to look more like a tragicomedy, with each act revealing new cracks in the facade. We'll break down the 4 key areas where things are going spectacularly wrong: military misadventures, economic decay, demographic collapse, and geographic headaches. Each of these issues is a story in itself, and together they paint a picture of a nation in crisis. This isn't just about mockery. It's about understanding why one of the world's most talked about nations is stumbling. To truly grasp what's happening, we need to look beyond the headlines and see the forces shaping Russia's uncertain future. Because what happens in Russia rarely stays in Russia. Its actions ripple across borders, affecting everything from global security to energy prices and international politics. So buckle up. This is going to be a bumpy and sometimes absurd ride into the heart of Russia's troubles. Expect twists, turns, and a few surprises along the way as we navigate the ups and downs of this complex country. Let's see why the great Russian bear is limping and what it means for the rest of the world. Let's start with the war in Ukraine, the disaster everyone saw coming except apparently the Kremlin. When Russian forces rolled across the border in February 2022, the world held its breath, expecting a swift and brutal campaign. The Russian leadership, confident in their military's power, seemed to believe they could rewrite history in just a few days. In February 2022, Russia promised a quick 3-day special operation. The message was clear. Kiev would fall almost overnight, and the world would be forced to accept a new reality shaped by Russian might. The plan was for Kiev to fall, and for the world to watch Russia's military triumph unfold on live television. Russian troops advanced with confidence, expecting little resistance. Instead, Ukraine fought back with everything from javelin missiles to tractors, showing a level of resilience and creativity that stunned the world. Ordinary citizens joined the fight, and even farmers became unexpected heroes, towing away abandoned Russian vehicles. Russian tanks, once symbols of power, became easy targets for Ukrainian defenders. Images of destroyed and abandoned armor quickly spread across social media, undermining the myth of Russian invincibility. The initial assault turned into a logistical nightmare: convoys stuck in mud, fuel shortages, and soldiers using unsecure cell phones that exposed their positions. The Russian advance stalled, and chaos replaced the planned blitzkrieg. The Kremlin believed its own propaganda and sent troops with parade uniforms, not gear for a real war. Many soldiers were unprepared for the harsh realities of combat, lacking basic supplies and proper equipment. Now, in 2025, that 3-day operation is a grinding, bloody war of attrition. The front lines are scarred with trenches, and both sides endure unimaginable hardship as the conflict drags on with no clear end in sight. Russia's lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers and is pulling ancient tanks out of storage, even recruiting prisoners to fill the ranks. The cost in lives and resources has been staggering, and morale is at an all-time low. The war meant to showcase Russian strength has instead exposed its profound weakness. Scenes of retreating soldiers and burning vehicles have become all too common, shattering the illusion of an unstoppable force. The world is watching, and the myth of Russian military might is shattered. What was supposed to be a quick victory has become a cautionary tale, forever changing how the world views Russia's power and ambition. Russia's military problems go way beyond Ukraine. corruption is everywhere. Money for modernization disappears, and soldiers get outdated gear and expired rations. Conscription creates an army of reluctant draftees, not professionals. Training is harsh but basic, with hazing and rigid command structures stifling initiative. The result? A force built for parades, not modern warfare. Remember the Moskva, the Black Sea Fleet's flagship? Sunk by Ukrainian missiles, a national humiliation. Russia's prized assets are vulnerable, and its military is exposed as technologically lagging and poorly led. The myth of the invincible Russian war machine is gone. What's left is a force relying on brute numbers, not skill. Years of posturing have left Russia unprepared for real conflict. The world now sees the reality behind the parade. Let's talk about the Russian economy, often best described as a gas station with a country attached. For decades, Russia's vast natural resources, especially oil and gas, have been the backbone of its economy, fueling not just cars and homes, but also the ambitions of the state itself. For years, Russia relied heavily on exporting oil and gas, particularly to Europe. These energy exports funded everything from the military's latest hardware to the extravagant lifestyles of oligarchs, with luxury yachts and lavish mansions as far as the eye could see. But after the invasion of Ukraine, the West responded with a wave of unprecedented sanctions, freezing hundreds of billions in reserves, cutting Russian banks off from global finance, and scrambling to reduce dependence on Russian energy. The message was clear. Business as usual was over. In response, Russia tried to pivot eastward, selling oil at a discount to China and India. This move has kept some money flowing in, and so far, the economy hasn't collapsed. At least, not yet. But the cracks are starting to show. War spending is propping up GDP, creating the illusion of growth. Factories are busy, but mostly churning out tanks and ammunition. It's a short-term sugar rush, not the kind of sustainable development that builds a future. Beneath the surface, Russia is increasingly isolated from Western technology and investment. International companies have pulled out, and new investment has dried up, leaving gaps that are hard to fill. Civilian industries are suffering. Airlines can't get spare parts, car manufacturers struggle to source basic safety features, and a growing brain drain is underway as skilled workers and young talent look for opportunities abroad. The economy is being rewired for war, with factories shifting from consumer goods to military hardware. In effect, Russia is mortgaging its future for the demands of the present conflict. This is a short-term fix with long-term consequences. The numbers might look stable for now, but the underlying reality is far more fragile. The foundation of the economy is quietly crumbling, even as official statistics try to paint a rosy picture. In the end, Russia's economic future is being sacrificed for the war, a gamble with consequences that will echo for generations. To keep the war machine running, Russia's economy has shifted into survival mode. Civilian needs are sidelined. Factories make missile parts instead of refrigerators, leading to shortages and rising prices. To bypass sanctions, Russia relies on smuggling shell companies and buying drones off the shelf for military use. Even North Korea and Iran are now suppliers, hardly a sign of strength. Meanwhile, war profiteers and Kremlin insiders snap up assets, consolidating wealth at the top. Ordinary Russians see declining living standards and fewer opportunities. The economy is burning through reserves and becoming more primitive and isolated. It's a nationwide looting spree, not a strategy. The Kremlin's stats may claim resilience, but the reality is long-term decay. Russia is tearing up its future to survive the present. Now let's talk about Russia's disappearing population. With 144 million people, Russia is huge on the map but shrinking fast. The war triggered a massive brain drain. IT specialists, doctors, and entrepreneurs fled, unwilling to live under isolation or risk conscription. Mobilization in 2022 sent hundreds of thousands more fleeing to avoid the draft. The result? A demographic hole. Millions of working-age men gone, either abroad or at the front. This compounds a pre-existing crisis. Low birth rates, high death rates, and declining life expectancy, especially among men. Russia's been losing people for decades, but the war has made it much worse. The country is aging, and the future workforce is vanishing. It's a triple whammy: emigration, war casualties, and natural decline. Russia's demographic crisis is now a full-blown emergency. This shrinking population has real consequences. Fewer workers mean less production, less innovation, and a smaller economy. Labor shortages are everywhere, from construction to tech. Russia is aging fast, More pensioners, fewer young workers to support them. The state budget is strained by pensions, healthcare, and now, war casualties. Vast regions are emptying out, making it harder to defend borders or develop resources. National unity and control are harder to maintain as the country hollows out. The war accelerates the decline, killing young men and driving out talent. The demographic time bomb is ticking louder than ever, and there's no quick fix. Russia's future is being drained away, one person at a time. Geography. Russia's biggest asset and its biggest curse. It's the world's largest country, rich in resources, but most of it is cold, remote, and hard to live in. Permafrost, harsh climate, and vast distances make construction and agriculture difficult. Most people live in the west, leaving Siberia and the Far East nearly empty. Infrastructure is underdeveloped, making transport slow and expensive. Supplying and governing such a huge territory is a logistical nightmare. Russia's long borders create constant security headaches and fuel paranoia. Managing these borders drains resources and drives aggressive foreign policy. The vastness that once symbolized power now amplifies every weakness. Russia's geography is a challenge it can't escape. So what's left when the bravado fades? Russia in 2025 is a nation in crisis, militarily exposed, economically isolated, and demographically collapsing. Its vast geography only makes things harder, not easier. These problems feed into each other. A failing military drains the economy, a broken economy drives people away, and a shrinking population makes the country unmanageable. Russia's leadership chose confrontation and isolation over prosperity and reform. The war they started can't be won, the economy can't diversify, and the people are leaving or dying. The cracks are too big to hide. The future looks bleak: stagnation, decline, and growing dependence on China. The great Russian bear isn't roaring. It's wounded, tired, and bleeding from self-inflicted wounds. That's the reality of Russia today.